David Martinez adjusted his tie nervously as he walked through the gleaming lobby of Sterling and Associates, his 4-year-old daughter Emma's small hand tucked securely in his. The manila envelope containing his resume felt heavier than it should have, weighted down by months of rejection letters and dwindling savings. Emma clutched her favorite doll, Sophie, against her pink coat. Her wide blue eyes took in the towering glass walls and polished marble floors with the wonder that only children possess. She had been unusually quiet during the subway ride, sensing her father's tension even at her young age. "Daddy, this place is really big," she whispered, her voice echoing slightly in the vast space. "Yes, sweetheart," David replied softly, checking his watch. They were 15 minutes early, just as he had planned. "Remember what we talked about? You need to sit very quietly while Daddy talks to the nice people." The elevator ride to the 23rd floor felt endless. David's reflection in the polished steel doors showed a man who had aged beyond his 32 years. The stress lines around his eyes told the story of sleepless nights spent wondering how he would pay next month's rent, how he would afford Emma's preschool, how he could possibly be both mother and father to the little girl who meant everything to him. When the elevator doors opened, they stepped into a sophisticated waiting area where other candidates sat in leather chairs, their expensive suits and confident postures a stark contrast to David's department store blazer and the small child at his side. Conversations ceased as heads turned their way, eyebrows raised in barely concealed surprise. "Is that man seriously bringing a kid to an interview?" someone muttered behind a glossy magazine. "How unprofessional!" another voice whispered. David felt heat rise in his cheeks, but he kept walking toward the reception desk. The receptionist, a woman in her 20s with perfectly styled hair, looked from David to Emma with obvious confusion. "Mr. Martinez?" she asked, consulting her computer screen. "You're here for the senior project manager position?" "Yes, that's correct," David replied, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I apologize for bringing my daughter. My babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I couldn't reschedule this interview." The receptionist's expression softened slightly. "I see. Well, please have a seat. Miss Sterling will be with you shortly." David guided Emma to 2 chairs in the corner, hoping to draw as little attention as possible. As they sat down, Emma arranged Sophie's tiny dress and began humming quietly to herself, oblivious to the stares and whispered comments from the other candidates. "Mr. Davidson is here for his interview," the receptionist announced into her headset, referring to another candidate. One by one, David watched as other applicants were called in. Each time someone emerged from the interview room, they glanced his way with expressions ranging from curiosity to pity. Emma had been remarkably patient, but after an hour of waiting, she began to fidget. "Daddy, I'm thirsty," she said, tugging gently on his sleeve. Before David could respond, the reception area fell silent. A woman in an elegant cream-colored suit had emerged from the hallway, her presence commanding immediate attention. This was clearly Victoria Sterling, the CEO whose company had grown from a small consulting firm to a multi-million-dollar enterprise in just 10 years. Victoria was younger than David had expected, perhaps in her late 30s, with shoulder-length blonde hair and sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. But what surprised David most was how her gaze lingered not on him, but on Emma, who had looked up from her doll with innocent curiosity. "Mr. Martinez," Victoria said, her voice warm but professional. "I'm Victoria Sterling. I apologize for the wait." David stood quickly, nearly dropping the manila envelope. "Miss Sterling, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm sorry about bringing Emma. I know it's highly irregular, but..." Victoria raised a gentle hand to stop him. "No need to apologize. Sometimes life doesn't align perfectly with our schedules." She looked down at Emma, who was now standing beside her father's chair. "And who is this beautiful young lady?" "I'm Emma," she replied with the fearless honesty of childhood. "This is Sophie," she added, holding up her doll. "She's my best friend because Mommy went to heaven and now it's just me and Daddy." The waiting area grew even quieter, if that was possible. David's throat tightened at his daughter's matter-of-fact explanation of their situation. Even after 18 months, Hearing Emma talk about her mother's death still felt like a physical blow. Victoria's expression shifted, revealing a depth of understanding that surprised David. She crouched down to Emma's level, her expensive suit touching the floor without concern. "It's very nice to meet you, Emma. Sophie is lovely. You know, I had a special doll when I was your age, too." "Really?" Emma's face brightened. "What was her name?" "Isabella," Victoria replied, a gentle smile playing at her lips. "I used to take her everywhere with me, just like you do with Sophie." Standing up, Victoria looked at David with a thoughtfulness that made him wonder what she was really seeing. "Mr. Martinez, why don't we move to my office for our discussion? And Emma, would you like to bring Sophie along? I have some colored pencils and paper that might keep you both entertained." The other candidates watched in amazement as Victoria Sterling personally escorted David and Emma down the hallway. In her spacious corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, Victoria did something that would be talked about in the company for years to come. She pulled up a small chair next to her massive mahogany desk and gestured for Emma to sit down. "Emma, you can color right here while your daddy and I talk about grown-up things," Victoria said, placing a stack of paper and a box of colored pencils within easy reach. "Would that be okay?" Emma nodded enthusiastically and immediately set to work on what appeared to be a drawing of a house with an unusually large rainbow above it. "Now then," Victoria said, settling into her chair across from David. "Tell me about yourself, beyond what's written on your resume." David had prepared for this question, but somehow Victoria's genuine interest and the way she had treated Emma made him want to be completely honest, rather than just strategically impressive. 3 years ago, I was the lead project manager at Morrison Tech, he began. I had a team of 12. We were launching innovative software solutions, and I thought I had everything figured out. Then my wife Sarah was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Victoria listened without interruption. Her attention focused entirely on David's words. I took family leave to care for her and spend time with Emma. Sarah passed away 18 months ago, and since then, I've been trying to balance single parenthood with finding steady work. It's been challenging because Emma is my first priority, and not every employer understands that. "How do you manage the balance?" Victoria asked. "Honestly, some days I don't manage it very well," David admitted. "But I've learned to be more efficient with my time, more creative with solutions, and more honest about what I can and cannot do. Emma has taught me that perfectionism isn't as important as presence." Victoria glanced over at Emma, who was now humming softly while adding purple flowers to her drawing. "What would you say is the most important lesson your daughter has taught you?" David considered the question carefully. "That resilience isn't about being strong all the time. It's about getting back up, asking for help when you need it, and finding joy in small moments even when everything feels overwhelming." "Look, Daddy," Emma suddenly interrupted, holding up her artwork. "I drew our new house. The one we're going to live in when you get a good job." The picture showed a simple house with 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, standing in front of it under a bright rainbow. In the corner, she had drawn what appeared to be an angel watching over them. David's eyes moistened as he looked at his daughter's hopeful vision of their future. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." Victoria studied the drawing as well, her expression thoughtful. "Emma, that's a wonderful picture. Can you tell me about the angel?" "That's Mommy," Emma explained matter-of-factly. "She watches over us and helps Daddy be brave when he gets scared about money and stuff." Victoria's composure wavered slightly, and David saw something deeply personal flicker across her face. After a moment, she turned back to him. "Mr. Martinez, I'm going to be honest with you. On paper, you have a gap in your employment history that might concern some people. But what I see is someone who made the most difficult choice a person can make, choosing love and family over career advancement. That tells me more about your character than any professional reference ever could." She paused, looking out the window at the city below. "I built this company from nothing after my own personal crisis. I understand what it means to start over when life forces your hand. The question is, are you ready to rebuild, not just for yourself, but as part of a team that values both professional excellence and human compassion?" David felt a surge of hope that he hadn't experienced in months. Ms. Sterling, I've never been more ready for anything in my life. Then let me make you an offer, Victoria said, reaching into her desk drawer. I'd like you to consider the senior project manager position, with a starting salary that I think will make your housing search a bit easier. She slid a piece of paper across the desk. David looked at the figure and felt his breath catch. It was more than he had dared to hope for. Additionally, Victoria continued, we have an excellent on-site childcare facility for employees. Emma would be welcome here after preschool and during school breaks. We believe that supporting our employees' families makes for stronger, more dedicated team members. Emma looked up from her coloring. Daddy, does that mean I can come see you at work sometimes? It might, sweetheart, David said, his voice thick with emotion. If Ms. Sterling is offering what I think she's offering, Victoria smiled, the professional facade giving way to genuine warmth. I am indeed, but I have one condition, Emma. Emma straightened up in her chair, suddenly serious. What kind of condition? I'd like you to draw me a picture for my office. Something that reminds me why kindness and understanding are just as important as business success. I can do that, Emma exclaimed, immediately reaching for a fresh piece of paper. 6 months later, David Martinez was thriving in his role at Sterling and Associates. His innovative approach to project management, combined with his ability to understand and prioritize what truly mattered, had made him one of Victoria's most valued team members. Emma's drawing hung framed on Victoria's office wall next to her business awards and diplomas. It served as a daily reminder that success without compassion is hollow, and that sometimes the most professional thing you can do is see the whole person, not just the resume. When new employees asked Victoria about her leadership philosophy, she would often point to Emma's drawing and say, true leadership means creating space for people to bring their authentic selves to work, challenges and all. When we support each other as complete human beings, we don't just build better businesses, we build better communities. And in the company break room, there was a small children's corner with books and toys, because Victoria had learned that when you invest in your employees' families, you invest in the future of your company itself.